Hello Chad, this is going to be your video on how to operate your lightsaber. So let's just get right into it. This is going to be how your lightsaber is going to come. I'm going to have to figure out how to ship it because this no longer fits inside of its box that it came in. I'll show you. I'll give you the box of course, but there's not going to be anything in it except this tool that you're going to need in order to remove the retention screw for the blade plug and the blade. And then these are just additional metal pieces that weren't used for the weathering and detailing of the broken end. Anyways, as you can see in here, it used to fit both parts, but now, since it has the chassis, it no longer fits. So what I'm gonna have to do is just put this together, full lightsaber, and then wrap it up, make sure it's super secure before I ship it to you, and then I'll ship it to you with itself and the box, of course. So yep, at least you'll have the box. So I guess we'll just get right into it. I'll put this off to the side for now. I'll try to go over as much as I can about this lightsaber. There's not too much to the whole operation physically to it. There's a whole lot to the software end, which I can only go into a little bit briefly because I can't show you everything. So for the software, you're going to need to have a look at all the resources in the description of the video, and I will try to list as many as I can that'll be as helpful as possible. But we'll just get right into this. I had to design and print this chassis because you wanted the CrystalFX and 28mm speaker along with the pixel to light up the broken end. So I spent a little bit of time. I took this from I took like the top half from Jimmy's Saber Junk because I have that Profi one when we were thinking we were going to do the Profi install. So I just basically copied that whole section because it would have taken even longer for me to design all that myself. But everything down here is stuff that I, did from the Solo Sabers design course thing that he did. And then I did my own measurements, etc., and set everything up. Like I set up the kill switch down here opposite the soundboard, so you can just flick it on and off. On the left is going to be off. When you turn it right, it's going to be on. And then it's got the spring side negative, got the positive over here. As you can see, all of the wires are really cramped in there, along with the what are they called, the resistors and such. I had to cut out or design little corner sections to go around the battery when the battery sits in here, because it's really hard to squeeze in the CrystalFX directly above the battery. Luckily this is a good enough diameter in order to make it happen, but barely. So everything in the corner had to be perfectly fit. It was super tricky trying to get all the wires in here because I also have the Bluetooth sitting right back there on a little shelf behind the board. I was very tricky getting it all in here because, first of all, these Fallen Order lightsabers are a bit tricky because of the wires having to go through the emitter, all the way through the neck, all the way down here. So you have a lot of excess wire once you're done, but luckily I've made a few of these before, so it was a little bit easier, but still, I had to route the wires all the way through the chassis, which was tricky. In the future, I'll design like cutouts on the side of the chassis so you can route the wires better, but anyways, I had to get it through there, which took a long time, and then route them through the corner channels on the sides, and then I had to get them on the correct side too, because if I had it on the opposite side, then the wires would be crossing there, like over the board, which means there would most likely be some pushing against the battery. So I wanted all the wires on one side or another, whichever side they needed to be on, which was tricky. I had to redo a few things a few times because I messed it up. Here, let's go over the speaker section. So we have the 28mm speaker, and then I designed this little circle ring with these little arms that hold on to the pixel. And the pixel just stands here, the wires go underneath, and then it goes past into these little cutouts that I did. There you go, you can see them, little cutouts. That way, when you put the back end on, they won't stick out, so they are a little bit inward. They do stick out a tiny little bit, but it's not enough to stop it from moving. It's just a tiny little bit of friction, but it works perfectly. I also cut slot through the speaker. So if you can see in here, I cut the edge of the speaker module so that the wires can sit in it a little bit, and then route it through here, and then attach to the board. Then I have the board mounted here so that it's easy access to the SD card. You have enough finger space here for it, and then you can just take it out, put it back in. You also have access to the micro SD port, which you could get a right angle micro SD to plug in there if that is the correct orientation. But anyways, you'll have to figure out how to plug it in, but you don't actually have to, because there's going to be basically nothing that requires you to plug this into the computer since you have the Bluetooth module. Now, I'm going to show you Bluetooth in a little bit. I'll show it to you a little bit later, but as of right now, I'll just show you how this generally works. And this is the blade plug here, and then the negatives here, so we'll go grab the battery and get this working. So you just put the negative in the negative side, the positive side, and make sure you turn it on. And then this is going to be your non-working font. And as you can see, the pixel is already lighting up into that somewhat random pixel pattern that I set up in the PIXIES folder. Once you research all that and do all your reading and figuring out how to customize some stuff, I'm using the LS2. I'm using the LS2 to control the pixel in the back, so that'll be important to know when you do customize this. And I'm using the accent strip, I believe, and then I'm using the PIXIES folder, or the PIXIES, to determine how this acts. So you'll have to, if you want to change it, you can just set it up in there. I'll have a link to the manual, the CrystalFX manual, which will tell you everything you need to know about this. I'll also have a link to the CrystalFX, CrystalFX.net, which is a great website resource for all things CrystalFX, how to customize it, a whole library of blade profiles, colors, etc. And then I'll have a whole bunch of stuff in the SD card too. So first thing you should want to do when you get this is take the SD card, plug it into your computer, copy all the files, and then save it to your computer. That way you have a backup. I'll have it with me too, so if you ever do lose it, you just hit me up and I'll send it to you. But anyways, that'll be the first thing you'll want to do. And then, as you can see, we have the random flickering, semi-random. I've noticed a pattern with it, but it's pretty cool. I love how all this is lit up. I'm gonna need to get one of these for myself in the future because this is just gorgeous. Love how it came out. And the weathering is perfect. The weathering is done by Astoria Workshop. Beautifully, beautifully done. Blackened the handle, made this part silver instead of like that blue-gray. Made this the copper, or the copper color, which is gorgeous, instead of whatever they did. And then he added the wires. Didn't do much else with this because I said to leave that part alone. You can see the wires here, which is pretty cool. Kept the spring here, which is really nice. I like that section the most, probably. Got some metal rods in here as well. But lots of rust, lots of damage, bending out some of the cuts in here that you see on the actual, the design in the game. You've got your power switch, on, off, auxiliary button. These things are gonna be, they're sort of double-sided taped and stuck on here. It's pretty solid. You have to pull them to take them out. But I don't want them permanent because underneath here are screws that hold in the chassis. So if you ever need it fixed or whatever, or you need to tighten it or something, you just pop these off, and then it's the screw directly underneath the top part here. And then you just take the same Allen key. I'll be using this one. Same Allen key that you use to remove the blade plug in the blade. That'll tighten that part. But yeah, it might fall off if it's not sticky enough, so you may want to add some extra support or something onto it if you need, but you do want to have that access underneath it. But right now it works well. So we'll just turn this on. This is the non-working font. And then auxiliary. Tap it for blaster blocks, hold it for blade lockup. You also have a tip drag, so if you stab down and then clash while you're holding the auxiliary, it'll tip drag. It won't show up on the blade that I have though, because the blade I have is a little bit shorter than yours. Hopefully I have the pixel count right. If I don't, just go ahead and head into the SD card, go to the config file, and then just change the LED strip length from, I think I set it to 144, which should cover yours, but if it doesn't, you can just adjust the number right there. Pretty simple. So yeah, the blade detection, how that works is you just remove the blade plug, and then you put something that has this connector, whether it be a blade plug with this connector or a blade. Then you just make contact, and there you go. And then you can turn it on. So as you can see, it's no longer on the non-functioning lightsaber mode, and it is it's on the cyan font from The Survivor by Hyperphonic and K-Sith. So I have that entire package on here for you, and everything else that you purchased for the extra additional fonts. And as you can see, I have it mirroring the blade, and if we lock up, you'll see it turn white. It's not as drastic with this cyan color, but with the future colors, you'll see it. So you've got the blaster blocks localized, then you've got the adjustable, whatever it's called, blade lockup. You've got, oh, you can see it a little bit, just the very tip of it. You can also play music. All the controls are going to be in the SD card. You'll find controls in there. There's a lot of stuff in that SD card package, but you'll find the controls in there. You can also find it on Plector Labs website, which has the CrystalFX manual. You can also find it in the manual itself, the controls, but I'll just go over some of the basic ones. I don't remember how you play music with this. I've just sort of accidentally done it. But here is the blade, or the power level indicator. So basically when it's off, you press the auxiliary button, power level, it just shows you, goes down the blade or up the blade. On, off. You can go into the font selection by holding the auxiliary button. So you press the auxiliary to go forward one, you press the activation to go backwards one. So this is blue. That sound is cyan. I just have the font be that, so that when you do the blade detection, it makes the blade detection sound. And then you can press both the auxiliary and activation button at the exact same time in order to jump forward 5.
This is graceful.
So
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Let's go to Darth Vader, Rogue One.
Unsettled.
There you go. And you can see the red back there. And you can see the flashing better now. And then I spent some time going over the blade timings. So when you do it feels pretty good for me, but if you want a specific timing, you'll have to go in and do it yourself. But I feel like everything I set up here works pretty well with the fonts. I have 43 fonts on here for you. We have like the 30 that I normally add, which are all the free fonts that I found or that I've collected onto here. And then we have all the different fonts that you wanted and you purchased and that I set up on here. So I guess I'll just go through it. An easy way to cycle through is hold down the activation button and just flash, and it goes forward by 1.
Disgraceful. Just a simple wanderer.
So that one's an easy way to go forward because when you hold down the auxiliary button with blade detection feature, it automatically goes back to its original starting font, which is going to be cyan. So if you hold it,
Sound bank selection.
goes back to sound bank selection, and then you can just select it by holding one of them down.
Disgraceful.
I think I'll stick with this one for now. Hold it down.
What do we do?
There we go. We also have force activation, so once you get your magnetic ring here, you can just put your hand over it. It'll turn on. You'll figure out where it's the most sensitive and where it detects it, etc. If it ever messes up, or if it like forgets its sensitivity or whatever, you can just reformat the SD card, re-upload the contents, put it back on, or you can update the firmware, whatever you need to do in order to make it work. But it doesn't really mess up often at all because CrystalFX is pretty good at that. But it really does depend on the location of where the magnet is. Because the board, I think, is right here, so it should detect it somewhere. And of course it messes up now, but sometimes,
Sound bank selection.
because how it works is it detects the amount of magnetic field around it and any disturbances that are there. So sometimes, especially I've found with the Fallen Order things, this can get magnetized a tiny little bit and then it just doesn't want to detect it very much. There you go. See, it just requires a little bit more than usual. And how you can make that work is just don't use magnetic activation for a little bit and then it'll stop being as magnetic here. Or you can recalibrate it. Let me just grab the other phone that I'm using. Let me try and go into the phone. There we go. So this is the Bluetooth app. When you first get it, you're going to want to get two apps. You're going to want to get the ForceSync app and the CrystalFX, I believe. Here, let me check to make sure I have the names right. Yeah. So you'll want CrystalFX, then you want ForceSync. But what I've found is that ForceSync is the one that connects to it easiest. So when you're on CrystalFX, sometimes it doesn't detect the board immediately. So just go to ForceSync. You'll find it. It's FSC BT909, and then it'll ask you for a password. It's 6 zeros. I'll have all this in the description of the video as well. So 6 zeros, boom. Then you click CrystalFocus. But I don't want to show you on this here because the CrystalFX app is the one that works the best with CrystalFocus. This is how you can update the firmware. This is how you can basically upload different blade profiles from the library that they have. You can change the colors. You can basically do everything you need to on there. And there's also a Bluetooth thing, or there's also like a desktop app or something that you can edit all that wirelessly. So keep all that in mind. It's the crystalfocus.net website that made all of this stuff that works really well with CrystalFocus. So go there, look at all the videos, read all the manuals and all the tutorials and stuff because it'll be incredibly useful. So got standard on off, and then lock up, kick drag, flashes, swings, slashes, stabs. You've got different blade profiles you can cycle through, different colors you can cycle through. I'll show that on here so I can show you the controls there. But let's just go here. If you press the auxiliary and activation at the exact same time, it goes into spectrum mode, and then it'll start off with the color changing, so you can switch it to whatever color you'd like. So we'll We'll go with this one. And then you can also go into spectrum mode and then hold down one of the
Blade
buttons.
profiles.
And then it goes to blade profiles, which is the animation. So you can go to all the different blade profiles that I have set up for you, which is about 31 of them. There you go. There's a lot. It's kind of tricky in order to find the one that you need because they're all melded into one. So I'll just try and find the one that it was on before. But to select everything, you just hold down the activation or auxiliary button. Yeah, see this one has a color change effect. It's a lot easier to see on different blades or different colors and such. And you'll see it a lot more in person than you do on camera here. Okay, I'll just select one of these. That one's fine. I don't know exactly what else I have to show you other than I showed you the Bluetooth. I showed you generally how that works and how you'll need to enter it. Again, it'll all be in the description of the video. Both the apps, the code for it. It'll only ask you that once, and once you have it sort of logged onto that device, the device won't ever ask you for the code again unless you use a different device. So that's going to be how that works. You're going to want to use Bluetooth to set it up. And one of the things that you should keep in mind is recalibrating the magnetic detection. You'll only really need to do that like once or something. But again, this thing is a little bit magnetized right now, so it doesn't want to detect more magnetic things. There we go. That's the only issue I've found with like metal handles, is sometimes it can carry a little bit of a magnetic current that doesn't want to work. So I'll just show you how to recalibrate this. So you go into, you'll want to take the blade off first because it's easier, because it's going to ask you to sort of roll the hilt on the different axes. And there you go. That goes to the non-working fonts once you take out the blade. But if you go to, if you go to remote control, and then you go to custom command down here, if you type in mag calib and then send.
Magnetic sensor calibration. Spin your hilt over pitch, roll, and your axis.
Yeah,
Press the auxiliary switch when done.
Yeah, I'm not really sure which axis that is exactly, but I just spin it in this way. So I spin it sideways, like that. Then I spin it along this axis here. Then I spin it like that. Then I press the auxiliary button.
Configuration saved.
And it's saved. So now, it detects it a little bit easier. See? So that's something you should keep in mind. That will help you out a little bit. I will show you the rest of the fonts though. Might as well. Because I pretty much have covered everything you need to know. It's not too much. It's just a lot of stuff that you'll want to do customizing wise. I pretty much set everything up how I think it would be really good and how I would like my own saber. But you can always customize all the different animations back here. You can customize the timings and the different fonts. You can add, delete fonts, etc. There's a lot of things you can do on here. But I'll cycle through some of the fonts. So this is cyan, and then green. All of this is in the Survivor bundle. And then again, all of this changes colors depending on the blade. There we go. Sometimes it's a little bit hard to get that
If you're not
clash
with
in.
me,
There we go.
then you're my enemy.
And this thing is only at 65% volume right now. You don't want to go past 75 just to keep the speaker safe, but I found that 65 is way, way more than enough because of the amount of resonance. The Fallen Order lightsabers are the loudest sabers that I've ever worked with because of the resonance. Oh, I just played music somehow. I forgot what control it is, but again, you'll find it in the manual. Oh, I think you just hold the button. Okay, so when it's on, you can double tap the activation button to turn the music on and off. And when it's off, I think you just hold the button. Yeah. Alright, so that's a control we just figured out by messing around with it. This is the Rogue One Vader font.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Disgraceful.
I also have about 30 different blade styles, 31 different blade styles, about
Yes,
30 different standard colors. All of these are the
It's
fonts
just
that
bad these days.
you bought for me to add on here. Really, really nice fonts.
Where is he?
All of these are just amazing. Love how all of them sound. And then you go to the free fonts. So this is the non-working blade fonts.
Blue.
Then all the standard ones. I think I'll just go through the
Sound bank selection.
sound bank selection menu.
Ancient. This is General Kenobi.
This one's fun. This one's the one that I always have on rainbow. Then you can see it here, rainbow. So yeah, that's pretty much everything.
Sound bank
I have all those fonts on there, and the one that you asked about from that video is also on here. I'll probably find that to show you.
Yep.
The older. Revolve.
Grey meat.
Nebula.
CrystalFX.
Night. Yeah.
The weapon.
Take your weapon.
This one. Let's see if I can get the magnetic detection to work. There we go. Whew, it is really loud on this lightsaber. There we go. So yeah, I think that's pretty much everything you need to know about the lightsaber. If you have any questions, just hit me up on Instagram or however you'd like. But since we've been messaging on Instagram, that's the best way to do it. All the resources that I was talking about will be in the description. I highly recommend you read everything and learn as much as you can about this, because you can get a ton out of this lightsaber if you just know how to set up all the software and whatever. The last thing I'll tell you about is just the battery. So the easiest way to take the battery out is, I couldn't get these divots in any further or else it'll go into the, here, we'll turn this off. It'll go into the wire paths, so you can't really take it out like that. So you could either shove something in here, like the Allen key or like tweezers or something, and bring it out. But I found the easiest way is just put your thumb on the empty space right here and just do that. Boom, it's out. And there you go. So yeah, that's your lightsaber. It's absolutely gorgeous. I'm gonna make one for myself one day, because this is probably one of my favorites I've ever made. Just functionally, visually, it's amazing. I hope you like it. I know it took a while, but I hope it was worth it and you enjoyed it. I mean, it was completely worth it for me, because this thing came out even better than I thought it would. I'm more than happy to have worked on this for you. I'll be sending it out tomorrow. Hope you enjoy it. Again, all the resources will be available to you. So enjoy the lightsaber. I hope you like it as much as I have enjoyed having it while it works. And while it hasn't worked before I've installed it. Sorry, it's late. Anyways, enjoy the lightsaber, and may the Force be with you.